Good morning, everyone. My name is Alistair King. Wow, very nice speech, Catherine. I mean, I could actually just not do my presentation and just talk about a lot of your points, because I think if there's three swear words in my industry right now, it's pitch consultants, and procurement. It's absolutely destroying our business. It's destroying what I do, actually. But don't get me started. I gave a talk recently, and someone came up to me afterwards and said, "Sure, I really liked your talk, eh? So what ads do you make?" And I thought, it's really wrong for me to assume that my audience actually even knows what I do or where I come from. And in fact, where my attitude to what I do, where it comes from and why I do what I do. And I guess without knowing who I am, very briefly, I'd like to just take a few minutes just to show you a little bit, 2 minutes of my company and why I believe what I believe. I'm the King, and that's the James. James is a very rational-minded. He's my partner in arms. He does all the money, and I do all the emotion and the swearing on the other side there. And we are quite literally a what could probably be called a creatively led agency. It just means that we have a very firm belief on what sells products and what doesn't, and we won't change our belief for anyone. We only take on clients who believe what we believe. And I guess we can do that because this is our offices in Cape Town, an old 1870s manor house. And I guess we can believe what we believe because essentially we're a pure independent agency. James and I founded our business 16 years ago. We've managed to build a very successful company. We're one of the last pure independents. We certainly, I think, there's another very good agency called Joe Public who's doing very nicely, who's also a pure independent based primarily in Johannesburg. We're basically mainly in Cape Town. And we literally started our business. We had 2 members of staff other than James and I, and when we won a client, we added another 2 members of staff, and when we won a client, we did another 2 members of staff. And our philosophy was really that the only way to grow your business is to do your job amazingly well. There's no other way. And I think that in business per se, too many people are worried about the rest of their activities instead of worrying about what they do. And we just said, as long as we're doing great advertising, we will grow. And so we are now about 150 staff members, and we are, as we've grown, we've become a pure integrated agency. So we have 7 companies within the KingJames group, and we all work in the same building. There's no walls between us. So digital, a PR company called Atmosphere, Digital Punk, eventing, we all work together, and so we don't think in silos, in media silos. We like to leap fearlessly between mediums, and sometimes quite recklessly. And we do. We've recently started our own agency in Johannesburg called KingJames II, and they're a year old. Spectacular creative leadership there, which we took out of Network BBDO, and they're the new kids on the block, under a year old, and they're flying like anything. And these are our clients. Santam, who we've had for about 4 years, Parmalat, some FMCG, Diageo, which in fact was our founding client 16 years ago. Cape Argus, also 16-year-old client, SABC in Johannesburg, very new. Bells, which we've had for 15 years. British Airways, this is a new one. Sanlam, we resigned at the Alan Gray account about a month ago to take on Sanlam, and we had Alan Gray for 11 years. Some might say a bold move, some might say a stupid move, but we believe we can do amazing work on that brand, and that's what I'm doing right now. Burger King, Tiger Brands, Johnny Walker, Kulula, Europcar, Tines, City of Cape Town, and we did not design that logo. I just want to put that on record. It was done by another company, and I hate that journalist who broke that rumor. But I guess at the foundation of our business is really this man, and he once said this, Jim Clark. He wrote a great book called The New Thing. And he said, never trust anyone who claims to see the future. And I think there's a lot of people telling you where everything's going, and they're all really looking after their own self-interests. And I think that we've always believed that the only way that we can evolve as a company is to be at the face of the wave, and have no vested interest in selling one medium over another. So we are completely medium neutral. We put our clients where we think where they need to be at any given point in time. And everything we know everything we believe to be absolutely true, and the science of our advertising is all contained in the book of KingJames, which is our Bible. And it's obviously blank, because I really believe that. I think that this business changes so rapidly that anyone who claims to know exactly what's going on is fooling themselves. But I guess if there's anything that we do believe in, it's probably, it's probably this. This is really, I guess, our mantra. We strive to create punch, work that stands out, that can't be ignored, that's never insipid, always surprising, unexpected, occasionally even jarring. Work that sits outside of the category's comfort zone, and that's a very important phrase there, because virtually every single client that comes to us has a set of ideas in their mind which they think are appropriate for their category. So whether it's financial institutions, chocolate, milk, they all have this set of ideas that they've got in their heads, which, let's be honest, are there because everyone else is doing it. But when everyone else is doing it, all you can really do is do exactly the same as everyone else does it. So this category comfort zone is in fact the very thing that I think constipates most marketers. They're sort of stuck in what is expected of the category. In fact, and they're often stuck in terms of what's expected by the people who own them, who could be in Italy or Spain or wherever it is. And strategically signed wallpaper, which I think is a thing we repeat a lot. We get a lot of, I think it's an experience where you hear the phrase, let's tick some boxes, and people have this laundry list of things that they want to say. And in doing so, they sit back and they go, right, we've got it all in order. And what comes out of that is possibly the world's most boring ad. And at no point does anyone say, we put out a really boring ad. Someone says, well, we've ticked all the boxes and you can't really question this work, but what you can't get away from as a communicator is that you've created something that's really dull and boring. And there's no comfort to be had in sitting there as a marketer. And when I say marketer, I'm not talking marketers. I'm talking all of us who are in the business of marketing brands. So just to briefly, hopefully, just to show you a little bit of 2 or 3 ads of what we've done. This is some of the work that we've done that I hope just proves our attitude to making ads. There's no audio. Oh, it's coming out of there.
My papa taught me 2 important things. Always look for potential. Then have the patience to wait for it.
Sorry. Okay, it didn't work.
It's easy to miss things.
Can you hear that?
Things that are right in front of you. It's part of the human condition. Let's assume that you went through your insurance contract and being meticulously cautious.
Okay, you guys know this ad, hey? I'm going to skip it. Okay, it might just be.
It's easy to miss things, to overlook things that are right in front of you. It's part of the human condition. Let's assume that you read through your insurance contract and being the meticulously cautious, I want to know what I'm covered for kind of person that you are. No doubt that you would have. Could you have missed something important? Overlooked something amidst the Latin clauses and
Sorry, I wish we had some audio on this, but I'm going to play you one more. We actually do need audio later. And that ad's had 1.76 million views on YouTube. It's become the most viewed South African ad of all time. Passing Nando's by already, yeah. Thank you. But a couple of months ago, my partner James and I were in London on business, and we'd had a really good meeting in the morning, and enough we thought to go down to the Thames and have a few ales, try some British ales. And like 6 ales later, we had been at this place called the Rutland Arms. We'd had a fabulous time. We had a plane to catch, and we were walking back to try and find a taxi so we could get to the airport. And we were walking along the Thames, and suddenly in the distance I saw this bridge, and it was kind of like simmering in the background. And when I walked around the corner, and there's James way ahead of me, clearly he wants to get to the taxi. But I walked around the corner, and I saw the corner of this bridge on the side of the Thames, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I kind of like stared at this thing. I'd never seen a bridge quite like it in my life. It had, some might say, garish, ugly even, but it kind of stunned me that there was this bridge, because the most incredible detail, the gold, and this was built in, I subsequently found out, is by Hammersmith, built in the 1880s almost, and the most incredible detail. And I kind of thought, why? Why would you go to such great lengths to create a bridge? Because, you know, it's got every single part of this is the attention to detail, the amount of effort it took to make this bridge in 1880 is for me quite mind-blowing. I mean, you know, even in this day and age, you don't see bridges made like that. And it really kind of blew me away. I was absolutely stunned by this thing, and I got on the plane and I flew back, and I just kept coming back to this bridge, because at the heart of my headspace was I kind of want to know, firstly, who designed this bridge, and why, and then it kind of I said, who asked for it, who commissioned it, and what was their brief? Because not only did it take some quite extraordinary design work or effort, it took someone extraordinary to agree to do this, because clearly this is much more than is necessary if you want to cross a river. And I mean, you know, in my business, I get clients coming to me all the time that says, this is what I want to do. And selling them brave work really is at the heart of me creating great work, because it's one thing to come up with it, it's another thing to persuade someone to buy it, to have someone who is so trusting of what you do that they are going to ultimately do something which is out of their own comfort zone, something that scares the shit out of them. And virtually without exception, both the Alan Gray ad and the Santam ad was bombed by the client. It was through our own persistence and our own, sorry to put it thing, but to put our own cocks on the block that those ads were made, and they were proven to be the right choice. But I kind of thought to myself, you know, if you look at what the challenge is, if someone came and said, please build me a bridge that goes from A to B, what is the correct solution there? Because if you're brutally honest with yourself, that's all you really need. You need a slab of concrete that goes from A to B, and essentially you've solved the brief. You've created something that is functional, that does the job, and you haven't wasted. Hi, are you the sound man? Thank you. There's a lock there. I just need to plug it in. Thank you. That essentially, if you've done that and you've built that bridge, you've done your job. You've created, you've given a solution, and many clients, I would say, would be quite thrilled with that solution because it's quite financially effective, as you can imagine. It's not a waste of money, and it will have achieved the job. So I kind of think, and to draw an analogy, if that was the artist's impression of that bridge in 1880, I could quite easily imagine the client, whoever that might be, saying, I love it, but can you make it concrete and can you lose all the detail? Because it essentially fulfills the job. And volume. Just when I play it, is it on? But there was no volume. Show me the volume button and then I'll try and survive. So, you know, my fascination with the business is how did that actually happen? And to have come up with such an extraordinary response to a problem as this. And I think that I'm not pointing out the obvious when I say you don't see this kind of thing anymore in our day and age. We see a lot of functional everything. And I guess, you know, my kind of perspective on... Okay, well then it's obviously, I don't know. We'll make do, but it wasn't playing just now. Is there another thing? Okay. Sorry, that is good advice. I should have just... Thank you. Hey? Yeah, maybe just in case. Is that the volume? Okay, I'll adapt it. Thank you.
But you can try that ad again, but just the last part of the mother.
Can't you come back just now and turn it down?
I can stand outside.
If you don't mind, otherwise I won't take it. And my observation of just about everything in life is that, and this is my law for everything, really, that the majority of everything on earth falls into that mundane, predictable territory. And there's a small percentage of stuff in the world that is amazing. I mean, and think about this in your own life. And then there's a percentage of stuff which is so bad that you actually notice how bad it is. But primarily there's a lot of stuff in life that sort of washes over you in everything. And my law is irrefutable. You can apply it to just about everything. That's what it looks like in a graph. But if you take films, for example, you know how many awesome films there, and you can list them probably all on one hand. You could list, for me it's Cinema Paradiso, boom. Then there's a whole body of work which fills time for you. You watch it, you go to sleep, you don't lose any, it sort of washes over you, it's mundane. Hunger Games is in there for me. And then there's a movie that you actually just go, I'm sorry, Hangover 2 and 3, crap. So that falls in there, yeah. And the same for literature, you know, for me it's anything by Tom Robbins, it's a fraction of the whole. Then there's a lot of books here which sort of, you read them, you get through them, and you didn't waste your time. And then there's books that you just feel should be burned.
Where would the husband live?
Well, this is Dan Brown. That's what I can tell you. And it's not just about objects. It also applies to people. I mean, so the ladies in the room, you know that in your life, if you take all the men you've ever met, okay, there's a few that have really blown you away, okay. There's a whole bunch which you could take home to your mother, and your mother would be satisfied for them, but maybe not entirely thrilled. And then there are just total deuces down here. I think it applies to everything. And I think it applies to television advertising as well. It applies to what I do. And all I do in my life is I try to do as much as possible over here. That's my goal. I want to die having done more awesome work. Occasionally, it falls into this space, and that can't be helped. And if I can avoid this territory in my life, I will die a very happy man. And there really are only two exceptions to my law, so it's not entirely irrefutable. But it's R&B, which is all rubbish, and reality TV shows. I think that's all rubbish. I don't know why it was invented. But my philosophy really is that there's no merit in doing anything exactly the same way as it's done before. I think that the element of surprise is at the heart of what makes people react to you. If you put something to people that is familiar, has been done before, or in fact falls into that zone of I've seen stuff like that before, you really are going to be falling into that big band of work of that is really just sort of mundane and average. And there's a lot of rub between what I believe and what a lot of marketers believe, because a lot of marketers believe that once you have something that works, why not stick to it? Because it's worked there, therefore let's keep doing it. And there's lots of examples of that. I mean, for us to even get Alan Gray to keep changing the advertising, because every time they had a good ad, they'd go, hey, we need another one like that. I'm saying, no, you need a completely different one. Because the only way that we can keep moving people is to keep surprising them, to keep putting things in front of them that they haven't seen before. And it's a risky strategy. It's a very emotionally exhausting strategy, and it's tiring. But that's really what I believe. Everything obvious is familiar. Everything familiar is predictable. Everything predictable is mundane. Everything mundane is ignored. And it's key, because when you are throwing millions of rands to put your advertising onto whatever medium you're putting it on, if it falls into that category of mundane, it is ignored. No matter how many boxes you think you've ticked in your strategy, how many CEOs or board members you've satisfied, that's the most dangerous place to be as a marketer. And that was really what I believed. But when I saw this bridge, I just suddenly thought, shit, everything I believe might be wrong. Or not wrong, but not entirely right. Because this bridge said something to me which I hadn't really thought about. It brought a new dimension to me as to what creativity is all about. And I think that creativity might be this. Maybe nothing less and nothing more than that which provokes a sense of awe in us. Now think about your own life. When you see something amazing, it sort of stops you, and you feel whatever word is in your head. Wow, awesome, cool. You have that reaction that comes from deep inside you that you somehow just don't control. It gushes out. And if that's what our goal is as marketers, to create something that blows people away, we recognize it as something that is beyond the norm, beyond what is expected or asked for, an idea that's been taken further than most would be willing to take it. And this is key, because just an anecdotal, when we presented the ad with the little boy and the little girl going, I said to the client, you can have this ad, but only if you shoot it somewhere else in the world. And he said, well, why can't we shoot it in South Africa? I said, you can shoot it in South Africa, but I won't let you. I will give you another ad, because the secret to this idea is to take it to another place so that it enters the realm of fantasy. I said, if you shoot it here, it's going to look like a spa ad or whatever. It's going to look like every other ad on TV. I need to elevate it beyond that. And that, taken further than most would be willing to take it, is often at the heart of every decision you make as a marketer. Like, why go this far? Why, is it necessary to spend this money? Is it necessary to add this layer? Actually, I think it is. I think its true impact comes from it simply being unnecessary. And that bridge said to me, this is unnecessary. You didn't have to do this, but you did. And the very thing that moved me about the bridge is that it is spectacular overkill. And by its nature, overkill is a word that people use, it's too much, go back, it's unnecessary. Actually, I think overkill is the very thing that defines it. And when I started to look at the world more carefully, I realized that virtually everything amazing on earth is this. And I'll start with the obvious. They bury people in this. Okay, they could have turned it around and put it in the ground, or just put them in the ground. But they didn't. They decided to put them above the ground, and they decided to build it with stone that doesn't come from around the corner. It comes from 400 kilometers away. So 2 million people had to build that over 20 years. Spectacular overkill. 3 million people built this. Estimates are that 70% of the Chinese population were involved in building this at the time. It's 5,500 miles and took several centuries to build. Absolutely bizarre. This is the basket building in Ohio. You know, unnecessary, but God, you notice it, you know what I mean? And you would walk past 20 buildings that around there, and you wouldn't even look twice at them. That you would stop and look at it. That's half the job that we face as marketers, is getting people to stop and look, because otherwise it washes over you. This is in Poland, I think. Kind of crazy. It's called I forgot what it's called.
What is that, like an office block?
It's someone built this house. Yeah, it's called the Dancing House. That's right. Now, the effort that it took to do this, for me, why it grips you is because someone dead was audacious enough to try something that no one had ever tried. And therein lies, for me, the secret to what we do. Do you know what the origins of this building are? Someone said, this was for the trade fair in 1886 in Paris, we need an entrance, a gate. That's the gate to the trade fair. Now, the French, I don't know, they could have just put a little thing here, but someone said, cool, that'll do, let's go for it. And these are the landmarks in the world today. We need somewhere to listen to some opera.
I was there.
I mean, yeah, it's way beyond its functionality, and this cracks me up. Check out this free land over there. I mean, you could squash that building and flatten it out, and it would cover that area. There's no reason to keep going straight up. Do you know what I mean? It's like land is not a problem to these people, and that's what they've done. And this is like 300. This has been going on forever. It's the Gothic church in Barcelona. And it's just an ongoing project that goes on forever and will be one of the great landmarks. And this is a small idea, but they could have just put up a sign that said library. But someone took it to the next level. And I think that's pretty amazing. And when I really start to think more and I start to look at the first song that came to my mind, do you remember the song, You're So Vain? What do you remember about it? It's anger, hey? People think of this as an angry song. I actually think it's a love song. I think that no one sings like that unless they're still in love. I think that anyway, otherwise if you're angry, you just, if you let someone go and you don't miss them, you don't bother to write a song about them. You're actually happy now that they're gone. But when they're gone and you're still not happy, you're angry because you're still in love. So you write angry words like that. And when these songs came out, don't you, the repetition of those phrases, 2/3 of the women in the world were sitting there going, don't you, and they're thinking of their husbands. And I sort of followed this through Alanis Morissette. When this song came out, people were going, whoa, lady, she's 21 years old and she's already delivering the spittle coming out of her mouth, talking about this man that left her. And she could just say, I hate you, sir, you ruined my life. She could have said that, but she didn't. She said that. That is overkill. And that is where the emotion of those songs come from. Possibly one of the more passive-aggressive songs of all time. Never mind, I'll find someone like you, I wish nothing but the best for you. Die, you bastard, is what she's really saying. But around the world, those words resonate because people don't say that too often in music. They get all soft about it. They deliver these words politely. They go, eh, 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 eh. And when someone does that and pumps out her emotion fully, it affects us all because we don't hear it enough. And in more recent times, I had a friend who was dancing on a late night party at my house, and I watched her, and she was actually spitting out of her mouth when she was singing this because she had just broken up with her boyfriend. And it's at the heart of human emotion that anything that's softly expressed sort of washes over us. Everything that is at the cutting edge of raw emotion affects us. And I can just, these are the biggest grossing movies of all time. There's a degree of escapism in the films that we love. Sorry, am I in the way here? I'm sure I am. Sorry, I can. This is a story about a slightly impaired man. Now, that's what it is. The fact that they made him a Vietnam vet, and he invented this and he invented that, and he met the president, and the expression of that slightly mentally impaired man and what he achieved is at the heart of that story. This one, what would make us sit through a 3.5-hour film to watch a boat that's going to crash? And we know it. We know it. The love story is the overkill part, because we could have just shown the boat slowly going towards the thing. The love affair is what holds that story in place. You could lose the boat. You could just make a movie about a love affair. The boat is the overkill for the story about the romance. So the two, and I could keep going. Lord of the Rings, Avatar, The Avengers, 506 F-bombs in this movie. And I'll just kneel down. There's an element of exaggeration in virtually everything that is powerful to us. It's not life, it's larger than life. We have a sense that, not only do we have a sense that we haven't seen this idea before when we see it, we have a sense that we may never see it again. Okay, this is key. That's what moves us with photography. Spectacular overkill. The very things that push us are the things that ultimately, they have a sense of theatre and the sense that I've never seen that before and I'm unlikely to see it again. In fact, I don't know if I want to see it again. This is one of my favorite photos of all time. The man on the right is actually an unnamed Russian prisoner of war, and on the left is, I think it's Himmler. And he just stood up and he faced him. There's an urban legend that man is actually Greece. He's not. He's a British. He's actually a Russian. But that photograph just says everything about defiance to me. Sorry, just to let that. And the emotions you're feeling right now come from the place that says, I haven't seen this before, or I've known about it. There's nothing conventional about the things that excite and capture our imagination as human beings. If they were conventional, we wouldn't see them or regard them as anything out of the ordinary. Anything powerful by its very nature jars, and everything powerful has a sense of theatre about it, as in the world. I'm not even talking about advertising. And the best ideas, I believe, hint at the energy that was spent to create them. If it appears to have been hard, if it appears to have taken a great deal of effort, it is quietly admired for just that alone. Someone's taken further than I would have, essentially, is what you're feeling. We appreciate anything that we perceive to have been done, to have been an achievement to pull off. And I think that this is at the heart of human nature. How many people have skied here? Not many, huh? It's Mortimer hard. It's Mortimer hard. And I doubt that any of you are blown away by that picture. Am I right? Trust me, that is magnificent. If you've ever skied, getting airborne is an achievement. Staying on your feet is an achievement. I know, having done it. But to you guys looking at that, it's like, lame. There you might go, whoa, that guy's crazy cool. But therein lies your response to each of those pictures is really based on your feeling of, I can do that or I can't do that. You probably feel you could have jumped that thing. You probably say, I can't do that. And that thing is key to your reaction. And I think we admire that which we subconsciously admit we may not be able to do ourselves. I think that's a thing. I think that it's awe is us fleetingly bowing down to someone else's brilliance. Even if you're not even aware of it, you're going, well done, mate. Well done to those people who did that. So I think that this is a crux of my point. The rules that govern, how did that happen? Sorry. The rules that govern what excites us as human beings in film, music, architecture, and design, indeed all things in life, also apply to advertising. Why do we believe that we can do such lame advertising and think that that inspires people to use your product? How do we hide behind that strategically signed wallpaper, those box ticking, sorry mate, I'm about to press it, give me one moment and then I'm sure it's fine. How do we hide behind knowing subconsciously that as human beings we only respond well to things which blow us away? Why do we think that we can get away with doing rubbish? Why do we hide behind the science of advertising and not behind the science of humanity? And I've noticed something quite interesting in the past few years, and this is where some more pictures come in place. The advent of the internet has changed, I think is going to change our business forever. It's not the internet that's so amazing, it's the way that the internet has happened. I think that up until 10 years ago, marketers, advertisers, we owned the media. We got away with basically sitting down, coming up with brand onions, brand burgers, DNAs, USPs. We thought as long as we identified what was amazing about our product and we told people about it, we would sell products. And that was probably true for a long, long time. And every time I presented work to a client, often they would say things like, will this sell? I say, I believe so. They say, I'm not interested in doing amazing work. I'm not interested in building that bridge. I'm interested in getting across the river. That's all I've heard for my entire career. But when the internet happened, suddenly we lost control of the media. The world owned the media, and they could use it against us quite well. And not only did we discover that, in fact, they can actually ignore what we do now because our products, in fact, we look incredibly self-indulgent when we go out and try and convince people how amazing our products are. Because actually, they're sitting there with access to the most incredible amounts of film in the world. And an extraordinary thing has happened. The headspace of marketing and ad agencies is split. And I'm seeing courage in places for me which are amazing because that's what I live for. And I'm seeing the strategically signed wallpaper continuing in mainstream media. And I'm going to prove it to you. This is an ad done 2 years ago.
I need to escape the map. Just I know the way to the end. This is it. The way out.
Someone came up with that and someone approved it. At the same time, this was running on the internet. I think it's going to get very loud suddenly. Hold on, let me try. The first ad, I mean, which one makes you want to drive a Mercedes? It's obvious. The first ad probably cost 4 million rand to make. They probably shot that for 200,000 or 300,000 rand. They're probably concentrating on the ad and not concentrating on the second one. And there's no doubt what blows you away. It's the one that's spectacular and overkill and unnecessary. I mean, you don't need to hit a golf ball into a car to love the car. So I've got 10 more minutes. I was looking at this time and 24 minutes elapsed. Surely not, that doesn't. But I'm almost finished. This is an ad for Carlsberg.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Academy, where some of England's most promising fans learn to be great fans. Just look at these lads here. You have to dig deep to find that extra 10%. Not everyone's got what it takes.
We need to get through this together. You have to have mental strength now. Get your hand away from your face. Get your eyes on the screen.
It takes speed.
Come on, guys, get a move on. Come on, set it up. It's starting. Let's go, let's go.
And a whole lot of heart. But if you've got the right stuff, the rewards are there for the taking.
For a Carlsberg.
It's probably a 10 million rand ad, but I feel like I've seen it before. It feels like a Vodacom ad, potentially, like a beer ad. There's lots of ads like that, and there's a sense of familiarity to me, which makes that a typical, that's in the category comfort zone, in my opinion, firmly. This was done at the same time out of a company in Brussels. And I want you to think about those two ads, because one moves you in ways the other one doesn't. And the price difference apart, that probably cost 100,000 rand. But what does that talk to you about human beings? It says that those people, they overcame fear, they overcame prejudice, they overcame a whole bunch of stuff to take those seats. And they did it. And how do you feel about those people? like you're right up there, you want to cheer them as well, and you want to drink Carlsberg because of it. That is so far off the category comfort zone, it's frightening. It really is. And yet, the feelings that you had, and I'm going to show you one more. And this is a...
Nivea Stress Protect wirkt gegen Stressschwitzen. Extra Schutz, selbst in stressigen Situationen. Kein Stressschwitzen, kein Körpergeruch. Sicher in jeder Situation mit dem neuen Stress Protect von Nivea.
So Nivea is backing this whole stress. When you're stressed, you sweat. This product is for stress. That's a typical ad for the category, I think.
Now we go forward and final boarding number 3 Delta 1 Die Polizei bittet um ihre Mithilfe. Dringend gesucht wird diese Frau. Sie befindet sich seit gestern Vormittag auf der Flucht. Die Verdächtige ist ca. 1,65 Meter groß, hat dunkelblondes, lockiges Haar und trägt eine helle Jacke. Die Flüchtige gilt als unberechenbar und äußerst gefährlich. Bitte versuchen Sie nicht, die gesuchte Person festzuhalten oder gar anzusprechen. Für Hinweise zur Erhaltung der Verdächtigen wählen Sie bitte die unten eingeblendete Nummer. Wir melden uns wieder zu den Hauptnachrichten zu vollen Stunden. Bis dahin noch einen schönen Tag. Sie befindet sich seit gestern Vormittag auf der Flucht. Die Flüchtige gilt als unberechenbar und äußerst gefährlich.
Guten Morgen. Sind Sie gestresst? Wir sind vom Stresshaus. Da hätten wir was für Sie.